Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. What I'd love to do this morning is to go through a book, and the book that I've selected for today's episode is entitled A Lesson Before Dying, a book that was authored by a person who goes by the name of Ernest J. Gaines. What is the ultimate definition of a man, and can dignity be found even in the face of inevitable, crushing injustice? Ernest J. Gaines' book, A Lesson Before Dying, is a powerful, poignant and profoundly human novel set in the 1940s rural Louisiana. It tells the story of two men: Jefferson, a young, uneducated black man, unjustly condemned to death after being described by his own lawyer as nothing more than a hog, and Grant Wiggins, the disillusioned black schoolteacher tasked with teaching Jefferson how to walk to his death with the dignity of a man. This novel is a searing meditation on race, justice, duty, and the transformative power of finding one's human worth in a world determined to deny it. The narrative centres on Grant Wiggins, who is pressured by Jefferson's godmother, Miss Emma, and the local community to visit the condemned man in jail. Grant, bitter and yearning to escape the suffocating poverty and racism of the quarter, initially resists the task, seeing it as futile. However, as he slowly engages with Jefferson, the supposed lesson shifts. It is not just Jefferson who needs to learn how to be a man, but Grant himself, who must confront his own despair and reconnect with his community and his community's deeply seated strength and faith. Gaines uses the tragic inevitability of Jefferson's fate to explore the cruelty of the American justice system, and the profound, essential role of love, solidarity, and self-respect in resisting dehumanization. The book asks whether, in the face of death, one can truly live by reclaiming one's identity. So the first key message from this book is where we look at dignity as the final stand in a system designed to dehumanize. The ability to define oneself, to walk with dignity, is the ultimate and powerful act of resistance. We look at the burden of the educated, because education brings not just freedom, but a heavy moral responsibility to uplift not only yourself and your family, but your community, and not to abandon it. The other interesting and powerful message that comes from this is where we look at language and how language can be used to define one's reality. The lawyer's depiction of Jefferson as a hog strips him of his entire humanity. The process of teaching him to speak and write is the process of reclaiming his human identity through language. Another powerful message that comes from this author is where we learn that love is the magic glue. Love is the community glue, the glue that bonds people from different backgrounds with different hopes, different expectations, different thought processes together. The efforts of Miss Emma and Tanti Lou demonstrate that unconditional and persistent love and collective solidarity are the enduring strengths of a marginalized community. We also go on to learn and to discover the necessity of witness. Grant's role is not just to teach, but to bear witness to Jefferson's transformation, thereby validating his existence and ensuring his life mattered and did not just disappear and become irrelevant. Another powerful message that comes from this book also is where we learn to understand that we need action over philosophy. We don't just live by philosophy alone without action, because philosophy without action is just a waste of time. Another important message that comes from this book is where we look at how the novel argues that true value is found in action. True value is found in action and physical presence, the willingness to show up for others. And Grant often escapes into intellect and detachment, which, as we know, is unproductive and not all that useful. We also learn from this book the futility of escape, and Grant believes escaping the South will bring freedom, but the novel suggests that internal freedom, and this is powerful, the novel suggests that internal freedom, self-acceptance and connection are more critical than physical location, as the power of small gestures are also examined. The seemingly small acts, sharing a meal, offering a radio, acknowledging the other person as being human, are the essential building blocks of self-respect and meaningful existence. We also look at grieving the living. The community and Grant are forced to grieve the idea of Jefferson, the life he deserved, long before his actual death, showing the chronic pain of injustice, how it impacts not only the immediate person, but also the community as well. And the last important message to come from this book is where we learn that teaching is receiving. The relationship between Grant and Jefferson is mutually transformative. Grant attempts to teach Jefferson, ultimately results in Grant receiving the deepest and most profound lesson of all about his own purpose and his own manhood. So thank you everybody for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5 a.m. Club on this beautiful morning down here at the Meadowbank Pier. And as you can see, we've got the rowing crews doing their drills, preparing themselves for the season ahead. It's an overcast day, but it does appear that it will be fairly warm. This looks like a Sydney High crew coming through now. Anyway, we'll chat again. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.